something, she knew. But now she shook her head, saying, "You haven't been working on fractions. You've been drawing birds." "I'd rather draw birds than do these old fractions, Mum." Serafina had learnt from experience that David had inherited neither her passion for science nor the mathematical genes of his grandfather, Septimus. He was intrigued more by fanciful things than numbers and hard facts, which troubled Serafina. "David, if you want to subtract a fraction from a whole number, you simply turn one of the whole numbers to a fraction. You change this number, 5, to 4, and that gives you a whole number. Now you want to subtract 1/4 from that. How many fourths are there in a whole number?" "I don't know, Mum." Serafina shook her head slowly and insisted, "You must learn fractions, David." "I don't like them." David suddenly gave her an odd, secretive look that she knew well. "What are you thinking, son?" "May I show you something I like?" Serafina sighed. "Yes, I suppose you may." David jumped up and ran to the desk. He opened a drawer and took something out. It was, Serafina saw, a book, and his eyes were alight with excitement when he showed it to her. "Look, it's a book about King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table." Serafina took the book and opened it. On the first page she read, "To my friend David," and it was signed, Dylan Tremayne. "Dylan gave you this book?" "Yes, ain't it fine? It was a present, and he gave me his picture too." David reached over and pulled an image from between the pages of the book. "Look at it, Mum. It looks just like him, don't it now?" Serafina stared at the miniature painting of Dylan Tremayne, and, as always, she was struck by the good looks of the man who had come to play such a vital part in her life. She studied the glossy black hair with the lock over the forehead as usual, the steady, wide-spaced and deep-set eyes, and then the wedge-shaped face, the wide mouth, the mobile features. With those beautiful eyes, he's almost too handsome to be a man. The thought touched her, and she remembered how only recently it had been Tremayne who had helped her to free her brother Clive from a charge of murder. She remembered how, at first, she had resented Tremayne for everything that he was, all which ran against the grain for the Viscountess of Radnor. Whereas she herself was logical, scientific, and reasonable, Dylan was fanciful, filled with imagination, and a fervent Christian, believing adamantly that miracles were not a thing of the past. She was also disturbed by the fact that, although she had given up on romance long ago, she had felt stirrings of attraction for this actor who was so different from everything that she believed. She had tried to think of some way to curtail Dylan's influence on David, for she felt it was unhealthy, but it was very difficult. David was wild about Dylan, who spent a great deal of time with him, and Serafina was well aware that her son's affection for Tremayne was part of his latent desire for a father. Firmly, Serafina said, "David, this book isn't true. It's made up, a storybook. It's not like a dictionary where words mean certain things. It's not like a book of mathematics where 2 + 2 is always 4. It isn't even like a history book when it gives the date of a famous person's birth. Those are facts." David listened but was restless. Finally, he interrupted by saying, "But Mum, Dylan says these are stories about men who were brave and who fought for the truth. That's not bad, is it?" "No, that's not bad, but they're not real men. If you must read stories about brave men, you need to read history." "Dylan says there was a King Arthur once." "Well, Dylan doesn't know any such thing. King Arthur and his knights are simply fairy tales, and you do well to put your mind on things that are real rather than things that are imaginary." But even as Serafina spoke, she saw the hurt in David's eyes, and her own heart smouldered. "We'll talk about it later," she said quickly. "Are you hungry?" "Yes." "You're always hungry." Serafina laughed and hugged him. "Dylan says he's going to come and see me today. Is that all right?" "Yes, I suppose so. Come along now. Let's go see what Cook has made for us." The dining room was always a pleasure to Serafina, and as she entered it,